Engineering.
engineering. But thank you for coming. We want to kind of work on just creating an initial toolkit of traffic safety resources, ideas that we have, resources that we own, things we need to look into a little bit more. So this first portion would just be kind of that idea dump, and I'm happy to type up the list if anyone wants to just throw the ideas out there. If we want to start with Chief Spencer and Chief Agresta as the experts in the field, and then the rest of us with our ideas.
I'll start. I can say in this realm, we are doing more now with road striping. We were striping more areas than we have in the past. I went around and recognized there's a few city parking lots that either were striped at one time and have since faded, but I want to add them to our list. Bridge Street, South Side is in need of new striping across from all the storefronts there. And then East Main and Eagle, in addition to the new park, Esperanza Verde, that parking lot could use a cleanup and some new striping, maybe some new signage. And we're doing more on the crosswalks. Some of the requirements from DOT. We used to just do, the two white lines as a lane, but now their best practice is that it's checkered or that it's got the hash marks going across the side. So the road striping crew from the county has been very helpful with that. And other than that, just kind of thinking about if there's signs that need to be replaced or they look old or weathered, bring them to my attention or to Mike Clark's attention, and we can get them replaced, because it's another that the county has an in-house sign shop is very, very valuable to us. It's very convenient, and if there's updates that can be made, let's make them.
You have those two parking lots.
Chief, do we have new radars? Do we have radar signs left in stock? Speed.
We've got two. Yes.
You have two.
Yep.
And if you have there been any recommendations for placement on those signs from the council yet?
Nope, not as of yet.
Okay, and I think that would be something that this committee should look at, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'd like to get them up and kind of in motion and in use.
And maybe get inputs from you if they don't, in terms of where you think they'd be best, and factor that into their thinking and get them up as soon as we can, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I put 2 permanent radar signs still in stock, and then we have the 1 mobile radar sign you told us at the last meeting.
Correct.
And we don't own any of those like traffic signs yet, like the one that deters traffic around the Crescent Street Bridge. Like, that's the state owned.
Yes.
Right? I believe I talked to the engineer about that. I don't know if that would be something that would be helpful in the future for parking and instructions during festivals or large events.
Did he mention what the cost of that was, Kelly?
It was a couple years ago, so I don't remember. So it must have changed. Let's see. Any other equipment or things that we might have in the police side?
No, not for now. I mean, the only thing you might see out there, they make them. They're more efficient now. They're solar powered. Some of them are the solar radar trailers. The Montgomery County has one. You'll see it in and around the town and things like that. It's something that it could be a purchase in the future, or also the one mobile radar sign that we have. It is equipped with a radar functionality to it, so there is information that you can pull off of it. And of course, I mean, we've had that for a number of years now. There are newer ones that are better battery life, more efficient, things like that. So maybe an upgrade there as well.
So kind of, one of the thoughts could be that, we have those two signs in stock and we could use the one that reads the speeds and gives us stats back on it, the temporary one.
Mm.
To put that at the candidate sites. Maybe if there's only two, we put them up, but if there's more than two, we use that trailer right now that reader right now to give us stats as to which of those streets has the highest average speed.
Yes, yep. And to look for I know some of the neighborhoods that don't have a radar sign yet. I don't think we have one yet up on the south side anywhere.
Right.
So that would be a first look right there. And yeah, some of the traffic patterns that we know of are problem areas. Because I think it is helping, in our main traffic avenues.
And Chief, when we're talking about equipment and what we have, we are in the process of getting the speed camera legislation correct.
Yes.
I
For this,
talked to Nicole about that, and that is on the agenda for the legislature. We just don't know when the governor will sign it. We don't know what the timeline is after that, Chief, correct? In terms of once the governor signs the legislation, the company that we're hiring to come in?
Yeah, I know the last representative, I want to say it was just a matter of months really for their team to get out here and outfit what needs to be done.
So maybe if you could share with the council at some point, or this committee at some point, what the plan is for that once it is done.
Yes.
And also we are going to be able to put some red light cameras up, correct?
As long as everything goes well with the legislature, we made that request. We have an inclination that it will be honored and it should be good to go, but it's still up to their review.
The red lights, though, I thought weren't part of the legislation. They are as well?
They were not the first part of it. They were the second part. We've seen other cities get the red lights. So we can expect and hope that it would get signed.
Okay.
But it was a number, I think there was 3 or 4 cities that had already got them.
Okay.
So we were asking for the same.
So guys, that's going to be coming and we're just not sure when. We know it's going to be this legislative session
Okay.
that they approve it, but that will be coming. And I do think those are going to be effective traffic safety instruments.
Yeah, because I know
agreed.
we have a lot of complaints about Van Dyke and Market, people running
Yep.
that light.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's a
key
great
one.
update that we can give constituents too, that we're taking all the steps that we can to get to that point. But we, as a municipality, aren't allowed to just put
Right.
these up without
And
But that-
Chris, you're
authorization.
familiar, Chris, with what's going on CDTA at the lower end of, at the 5 corners, right?
Yes,
And, kind of keeping, adding that input to this committee so that, we know what traffic control measures and pedestrian safety measures are going to be implemented. And
so one of the things we're doing is we're gonna move right now the bus stop is in front of what I would call the house across the street from Forest Ave, which is Mr. Rosito's house. And it's really not conducive for the traffic pattern because the bus has to stop there and everybody has to stop coming up the hill behind it. And when they try to pass it, cars are coming down the hill, so it's very unsafe. So they're gonna move the bus stop to Kellogg Street. So they're going to pick them up on the north side of Kellogg Street and drop them off down on the south side of Kellogg Street, but at opposing ends. And that works better for the traffic pattern, and it makes the whole program safer. I had mentioned in a couple of different meetings that the business owners had some serious issues. One of them was Mrs. Slezak. She was very concerned about Ms. Slezak, excuse me, she corrects me all the time. She's concerned that it would affect the tankers coming in and out of her station. But we've confirmed I had a meeting with all of them and the Labella Associates and CDTA, and they confirmed that they're road level sidewalks. Now, where her sign comes out onto the street, that little 6 or 8 foot section, there's going to be a curb there, but there's already a curb there. So it's just a matter of stretching it out into road level sidewalks with the crosswalks that come off of 4th and that go across the street to the other side of Church Street to that bus stop. So it's a much better situation for everybody. It's going to keep the kids a lot safer. I'm not quite sure how the new green space that they want to put in is going to bottleneck traffic there, because it's so wide that it makes it easier when cars are I want to say traffic confused. They're very cautious about where they turn, and the opposing side of Jane's Place is Five Corners Mobile, and that one entire driveway output that comes from everybody pumping gas where the tankers come out. CDTA wants to take that away. They want to close off that whole section, and then they won't be able to. The tankers will not be able to come out of there because they can't come on to J Street and then turn, because there's just not enough room. So Labella Associates is reworking that plan to make sure that they open up that area enough so when tankers do come in, they have an exit.
But as far as the projects are concerned, Chris, all the signage and the painting and everything that's going to be included as the crosswalking, all that would be part of the project. The city wouldn't.
Yes.
We wouldn't have to budget for that or get involved with that.
According to them, yes.
Okay.
So would that minimize the places that cars can pull out of from the Five Corners Mobile? So it's like more direct and.
So right now, like if you pull off of Kellogg onto Five Corners, right into the middle of the area,
Yeah.
The crosswalk or the stop sign, I don't know what Chief, I don't know what you call it. The line that says "Don't cross." That needs to be. They're moving that up a little bit more so it makes it more visible. Because right now, where you stop, you can't really see what's coming down Church Street. So everybody creeps up and goes to a certain spot so they get a clearer view of all the streets coming out. So that's part of the program as well. And the other thing is, we always have, at certain times, we have flooding down there because water just flows down that street like a river. And they've talked about adding another drain. And they've also talked to Ms. Slezak about creating I don't want to say a berm, but more like a downgrade to that one Forest Ave side of her parking lot to stop any water from going into her business and flooding it like it does sometimes every year.
That's great. It's always good when we can get like multiple solutions.
Yeah, and I'll keep informing the council as things go along. When we get the final plan, they'll bring it to the council. Right now it's such a preliminary stage. We've had the drilling. They came and took core samples to make sure when they do the drain and everything that there wasn't any contaminated soil or anything. And they're going to come back and talk to the council again too. That was it for that.
Okay. Chief Agresta, anything you want to add in? All right. One thing that I wanted to look into more in addition to like the street striping, I can't talk and type at the same time. On some of the thoroughfares, I have a couple of videos I want to send around to the group that show how, putting a center line, do not pass line on some of our wider streets and then like shoulders so that we really dictate the lanes can slow people down because it kind of shrinks the area that they think they can drive in. And might, like on something like Northampton, if there were shoulders, it might give people pulling out of their driveways a little bit of space where they wouldn't have to they're always like cars are coming up on them really fast as they're pulling out. So we'd have to do measurements as to what the actual width of it is and what the guidelines are through the state as far as it's like kind of an engineering thing. But if there were shoulders that would push cars more into the middle of the road into two lanes, they would slow down and then would have space for pedestrians, for people coming out of their driveways. And just maybe if a driver doesn't see a wide open space, they're less likely to they're more likely to speed in something that's just wide open and unmarked. And I was thinking about that on Guy Park too. The portion that's one way is supposedly two lanes, right? My parents always told me that when I was learning to drive, like, oh, this is two lanes. But I mean, it could be three lanes, it could be seven lanes. Like people are like some people drive right down the middle and like hold up traffic. Some people want to pass kind of dangerously. And it could be two lanes and it could have like, you know, parking lanes too in a way that might you know, show that more clearly. And then when it turns into the two-way street, that tends to be a little bit of a drag race course. Having that center line and painting the parking lanes maybe would slow people down too, based on some of the research I've seen. But I you know, would be something that I want to discuss with.
Does anybody know why we don't have center lines in the city?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, there's my clerk.
The previous two chiefs had told me they did not want center line striped generally. I mean, with the exception of a couple of streets. Don't necessarily agree with it, but I deferred to them. One thing to keep in mind is the standard lane is going to be a minimum of 10 feet. Honestly, in a city, you're going to be better off with 11 or 12. A shoulder area would normally be at least 2 feet. And again, that's for areas that don't have on-street parking. But yeah, there was, for example, this past year when we did Market Street, I included the striping right in the cost of the contract, or I had a unit price for it. I could do that every year, and I can get street stripes under chips that we don't currently have striped. Generally, when you have multiple lanes, for example, the discussion about Guy Park,
Yep.
my opinion is they should be striped.
Why were the Chiefs against it? Does anyone know?
I couldn't tell you.
Joe?
I couldn't tell you why they were against it, but they, in speaking with JJ a couple of times in the paving projects, he was not in favor of striping a lot of these streets that had not previously been striped. I think it was the same logic that the fear that reconfiguring Five Corners, for example, if you remember the Church Street project from 5 years ago now, that the original project included a total reconfiguration of that intersection, and the biggest fear at that time was that everybody knows how to drive in that nightmare of an intersection now because everybody's done it forever. If you change it, there's going to be accidents. Could be true, but you know.
So you guys want to stripe Guy Park Avenue all the way from Route 30 south to Caroline Street
Well,
as a two-lane road? Because I think that's going to be a little crazy, because at most points, those intersections, Wall Street, it turns into 2 lanes for turning. And then the same thing happens at Northampton and Clinton, and the same thing happens at Caroline. But I would defer to somebody else. But if we open that up with 2 lanes down the whole thing, I don't know what that's going to look
Well,
like.
it seems like it's just a guessing game right now.
Yeah.
And like
In my
something that
opinion,
has been
just-
passed down generationally, like
Yeah,
I
like I said,
honestly-
in my opinion, the generational thing was it's only 2 lanes at those intersections.
right.
It could be the wrong assumption, but that's the way
I always thought it was a 1 lane. And when
I
I'm
pass
going, when I'm,
people like, in front of like if I'm driving by like the soup kitchen or something, like to me that's 2 lanes, and especially
Because your
coming
parents
from
taught you
Northern
that. So
Ontario.
if you get in trouble, we're just gonna blame it on your parents because they taught you.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
blame everything on
I
Fred.
think,
Yeah.
I
So-
think the key is on Guy Park. A lot of people are in the right and they take a left. And you're on the
Yeah.
left-hand side, and it's like, I think lanes would help like you said, Tony, at intersections where there's frequent turns, especially.
Yeah, like viewing it from the intersection standpoint, yes, that makes sense to me. If we were talking about lane striping Guy Park Avenue for that whole stretch as a 2-lane driving road,
No, yeah, again, it is a 2-lane driving road,
I
but
mean, there's a stop sign on both
go-karts,
intersections at like the housing authority, if like, or both sides of the road. Like when you come up at the housing authority, there's a stop sign on the right and there's a stop sign on the left, which tells me you can be on
Yeah.
either side of the road.
that's a
Yeah.
two-way street.
Well, if the roadway allows for there's a space for 2 cars to pass, then if it's not marked, it can be considered a 2-lane road. But the other thing would be from Market to Northampton.
Yep.
The parking is one way, and once you get beyond Northampton, then the parking changes. Because there's different sides where it's allowed. Because I would agree, I would say for 2 lanes, I wouldn't go past Northampton. I feel it gets too narrow in there on that side, and you're more in a more thick residential area.
I think even by Grant Place, you're too narrow. You get hit Grant Place and where Jackson.
I agree.
Are,
there's only
that's
room for
narrow
one
there.
car at Brant Place.
Yeah,
Well, you
But
got
when you get down
36
past Chad's
pavement in
house,
that
that opens
area.
up.
Right.
You got a 36-foot wide street down through there. Now that's parking on one or both. You're gonna lose 10 feet out of that. So really you just have, I mean, you do have room for 2 lanes, but the one thing I would suggest is that no matter what we decide to do, that we make sure the striping complies with MUTSID and the highway design manual, because that's defensible and approved in most states. In other words, I'm assuming that like where you got 2 lanes in Guy Park, you're probably going to want if you're going to stripe the parking lanes or shoulder area or both, that you would have a dashed white running down the center, or at least a dashed yellow. But usually when you have a yellow, it indicates 2-way traffic, right? So I think it would probably be a dashed white, allowing for the changing of lanes. That's my 2 cents.
Right. And I would go to speak for the prior chiefs. I don't know about why they were against it per se. Those discussions I wasn't a part of, but I can say anything we do, yes, I would agree with Mike Clark that we have to do it within the CHIPS money, because our operational capability to stripe is not strong. Like I said, it's a partnership with the county. They let me know when they're breaking out their painting stuff, which is usually towards the end of the summer. Like they come out and then that's what they do for a couple of weeks. So it's a great partnership and we make out, but these types of major changes would be something that we would have to outsource to a private company, incur that cost, and then
listen, Dennis ain't painting their line on Guy Park Avenue. We do it. Professional companies do.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, I mean, you're gonna use, and the county uses accent striping if they're doing their highways. They don't have their crew do it. They'll do parking spaces and parking lots and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when they're doing, production striping on center lines and fog lines, they bring in accent. They have a contract every year. So
Right.
we do have
That's
access to that as well.
Okay.
And and then that would become something that has to be maintained.
Yeah, absolutely.
Year to year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be something kind of added into the like, what streets are we seeing that need to be repaired, and then like what streets are we seeing that need to be repainted, and yeah, we'd have to have a rotation of that.
It will beg the question though.
It will.
It's gonna also raise the question or raise the requirement that like, we don't have stop bars striped at every intersection where we have stop signs. Generally, we do, but not every place. And if we're striping lanes, we're gonna wanna do that. We're gonna wanna make sure all our crosswalks are striped. If we're gonna do it, I think it needs to be a complete job, and that,
Well, that's just it. If we were going to use striping, we would, again, that's what this is all about, is decide, should we do it? And if we are going to do it, where we should do it, and then treat that as a ongoing requirement that needs to be maintained and budgeted, right?
yes.
But it has to be done right. It has to be done per DOT, whatever regulations. So there's a lot involved. But it is a tool that, and the question is, do we need it? Can we afford it? Will it work? What problems will it cause? That's all points of discussion. But I do think that there are a lot of cars that on a one-way street, 2 lanes, that turn from the wrong lane into side streets. And I know that is a fact because I travel Guy Park Avenue every day and I deal with them. But would turn lanes prevent that? They certainly would help. But it's on our list, so we can
Yeah.
discuss.
Yeah, and then we can figure out the priorities from there, because there definitely, the goal is, of course, to keep things safe and prevent accidents, but also even just like make people feel more safe. Like, even if, like, okay, no one is hitting each other when they make that turn, or people are preventing that, it's still just like an ease of movement throughout the city and the travel. This is great because we're kind of like, as we go through this list, we already talking about like what we have, what we need resources for, what needs more research. So we're kind of going through everything all at once, which is great. Any other items to add to this?
So I wanted to ask a question now that Mike Clark's on the phone. When were the speed zone signs going to be put up on Julia Street that we passed a couple of months ago, indicating that it was a speed zone? I know that DigSafe went and marked all the spots probably about 4 weeks ago. But I was just curious when the speed zone, they were putting 2 speed zone signs on Julia, indicating it.
Probably
such.
wouldn't do that until it was warm enough weather to pour concrete. So probably another couple of weeks,
Okay.
and they'll get out there and do that. But I wouldn't normally do that sign work in the winter unless it was a crisis.
Okay.
Or a major safety issue.
One other issue, it's more Rich's zone, but I was asked when Chief Spencer first became chief, I had spoken to him about putting a pedestrian walkway across from the clock tower to the parking lot because that area is very unsafe. And we had discussed about putting a crosswalk that is like the one at the hospital. It's a pedestrian one, so it's red with white on each side. And it gives the people that are using that building and that parking lot safer passage because that's such a busy stretch right there with people coming down Prospect and they want to turn down to go down Market Street. It's just an accident waiting to happen with people.
It is. It's a tough area to cross the street.
And
For cars to stop to let people cross the street.
Yeah. Well, if it was like the hospital, it's just it's a brighter color, so it notifies everybody, and then right on each end it says pedestrian crossing, so it makes everybody safer.
Yeah.
And Chief was for it.
Where are you envisioning that going?
From the parking lot, where you'll forgive me, but I don't remember the name of the street that goes down to
Schuler. Schuler's the street that goes down across, but if you go to the little parking lot across, Clock Tower only owns a very small portion of that. The rest of that isn't parking for their people going to the Clock Tower building. So we're going to want to make sure we tie that crosswalk into the one that is gonna be coming down Prospect Street from where the city parking lot is.
Yeah, I think
So it
Prospect
would-
Street
it-
was what you were thinking of, Chris.
Yeah. So if you're standing on the stoop, we'll call it, of the clock tower that's on Prospect Street, that's almost parallel with the corner of the street that goes down to Guy Park Ave.
Sure.
And
Schuler.
yeah, so when I had talked to Chief about it before, it would have been from that section to that corner where they would have safe passage. Because there are, with Second Act and a lot of the store and everything that's in the clock tower, there's a lot of people that use the clock tower more than that did 4 or 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
Because
And all I'm saying is that the parking for the clock tower is not across the street from the clock tower. Just
Understood.
put that fact out.
I understood. That's where
I think
that's
we
where
need to
everybody
tie in-
parks.
Whatever
though.
you do, you gotta tie in the parking lot, the city-owned parking lot on Prospect Street.
Mm.
Agreed.
That's
So
up
if
to
it went from
somebody.
like Prospect to Schuler, people could go up Prospect on that sidewalk to the parking lot
Yeah.
or to
They-
the parking lot that's at
I mean,
FGI.
even when they have the Mohawks dinner, you're having 300 people that are parking over on that side of Prospect Street, and they're all walking across. I don't want to say jaywalking, but because there's no safe place for them to walk. And this is just an element that allows people to have a safer place.
All right. I mean, yeah, there's the existing crosswalk that we do paint every year, but yeah,
Right.
I could talk to them and see what the municipal code is from DOT. And I would think if you're gonna go across Prospect and then across Schuler,
Yep.
I would see if we can't make it a full 4-way. So you could, if you leave the building and stay on that side to walk to Elizabeth Street, same thing. Cause rather than leave it half done, I would do it all.
Sure.
See, it just, the front door
Yeah.
lines up with the intersection.
Yeah, that's the only one that's painted is from the front door across.
Right. But we had talked about coloring it to make it more visible so cars could see it better and they would.
Yeah, I gotta go to that
Pay more attention.
MUTCD book on the coloring. I don't know if that's a hospital specific code or what else they might recommend.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Can I bring up one more thing?
The floor is
Um,
yours.
And this supports something that Kelly had spoken about before. This past year, my daughter and ex-wife and her mother moved to Upper Northampton Road, a couple houses past Mike's sister's house. And and I do see cars flying down Northampton constantly. And they're hitting that intersection of Van Dyke really fast. And I wonder if, I wonder if we should think about having a hanging flashing light at that intersection. So it makes cars on Van Dyke more aware and it makes cars in Northampton more aware.
Just like the one that was taken down last year or 2 years ago. I couldn't resist.
But I thought that was a stoplight though. This would be that was a yellow light too.
Hanging flashing light.
Yeah, that was a flashing light, red and yellow.
I only bring it up because I go over there all the time and I see cars come flying down the street. A lot of times I pull into her driveway. So when I'm backing out, there's a lot of cars that come down the street that I've never really noticed before that I notice now because I'm on the street all the time. But it's just something I wanted to bring up for the group because if we're going to talk about stuff like this, it's just throwing it out there. And I know that Kelly had brought it up before. And I in my own opinion, I think, anything is better than nothing, but whatever. I just wanted to bring it up so we could write it down and talk about it.
So I know that Northampton comes up a lot, and from the code enforcement end of this, the intersection where Romaine comes down to Northampton,
Mm-hmm.
to the north of that, those lots are part of the lots. The people who own those are the properties, the houses on Pershing, and they do not maintain them at all.
Yep.
Being, been years since anyone has even tried to enforce them maintaining them. So whatever you guys do when you start talking about a sidewalk or anything on Northampton. I just wanted to let you know that that section between Van Dyke and Romaine has sidewalk on the west,
Yeah.
the east side of the road. That is actually the property owners of those houses on Pershing.
And are they like overgrown, would you say? And
Do get overgrown.
yeah.
They do get overgrown, and they are tough when you're coming down that hill to take a look up the hill, and you know, you can't see. And that's why we have sent people to cut them forever, because the property owners don't cut them. You know?
Mhm.
And we could start citing them, but it's like one of those past practice issues.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many streets in here that really are one problem leads to another.
Deal
One
with that.
solution causes another.
What I'm saying is what we can do is
issue.
publicize the fact that we're doing this, and that we are
Yeah.
going to be looking at these kinds of situations that have been going on forever and trying to address them and correct them and
Mhm.
enforcing code. I mean, that's the key. You own this property, you're responsible for clearing the brush away so that there's no traffic hazards.
Mhm. And getting
Everything south of Romaine is school district's property, and they do a decent job of making sure that the sidewalk is far enough away from the trees. And
mhm.
Not a lot of properties, but the properties that are there, you know, none of them take care of them at that side of the property.
Mm. We'll definitely make that a whole meeting as well in the future.
Yeah, it's those kinds of issues, you know, what
Yeah.
can homeowners?
in their defense, if I own property and I had to get in my car and drive somewhere to see the rest of my property, then I probably wouldn't be taking care of it that are readily available either.
Yeah.
It's like sticker mule going down Lion Street. I mean, you know, that fence
Mhm.
it's collapsing. We got a part of the street blocked off. That's sticker mule property, correct? Part of the sidewalk is
I
blocked.
would have to look at where the line is, because they do have the barricade, the Jersey barrier that's on the sidewalk where that is fallen. And then
Right.
we had the little area I thought that we still own, but I'd have to check the current map.
Mm.
Yeah, and
The majority of it is sticker mule.
any spot on that walkway that's a hazard, who's responsible for it? We need to address that. Because
Mhm.
people walk in the street. And-
They have been plowing on that side of Locust,
Mhm.
though.
Yes.
And the owners across the street from that usually threw their snow over there. So
They
there was
do.
a sign that said, "Please stop throwing your snow over here,"
Yeah.
because they were actually maintaining and clearing it this year. So that
Yeah.
was an improvement.
It
But then
was.
we have to change the behaviors of other people. All right. Great. Any other topical like tools types things that we want to look into more, or that we have, or that we've heard of that could be?
That's a good start.
I think it is a very good start. All right. So, next steps. I feel like one thing that we talked about that would be a good next step would be that mobile radar sign, starting to put it different places to research where we should put our permanent ones.
My apologies, my battery died.
Oh, does anybody have a thought on the direction of where we should do it? Should we do it over on the south side or?
I've got a couple requests that have come in over the winter. So I've
Okay.
got a couple streets lined up for it. We usually put it out for, the battery will last anywhere from 10 to 14 days based on the weather. And then we'll try to grab the data from it. But I would also say that it is a little old. It's got Bluetooth technology is how you download the data. It's a little antiquated. So I would be in favor of something that's a little more efficient.
It's like
Okay.
Napster.
You don't have to like pull up and link to it.
You exactly have to do it, but not through Wi-Fi, through Bluetooth, and it makes
Yeah.
it a little bit of a game. So, but But of course, there's upgrades have been made.
Mhm. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of so we'll definitely start putting in this place ways that we can start using those signs that we have. We'll start looking at
I,
funding for other, the budget is coming up, Mayor. Do you
yeah,
have any
I hear you.
wiggle room in that?
I hear you. Again, there's wiggle room in everything, but it's based on priorities. But I still think that each ward, the alderman of each ward should pick a priority project, priority concern, and those should be regardless of what tools we need. Speeding here, blind corner here, pedestrian safety here. You've all got. I don't call them pet peeves, but really important priority thoughts and ideas that you'd like to see us addressed in some way. And we could do it in a fair way by doing it on a ward by ward basis. And also I like targeting one thing and fixing it and then going on to the next thing as much as we possibly can. With the tools that we have, with the tools that we need to purchase, whatever it may be, but at least we're developing a list of priority projects by ward, just like the streets.
Okay, and then the engineer is going to give us a list soon for the paving program. Will there be streets in there that we think we might want to stripe? Will we have to make some adjustments for that before we pass it?
Yeah, I think we
Is
just.
this an opportunity?
We discussed all the issues involved with striping that need to be resolved. We have to come up with this is what we can do with striping, before we start saying we're gonna stripe, I think.
There may be a couple of streets that we would want to stripe, but I will say none of them are going to break the bank. The cost of striping compared with all the other items of work that we do on a normal paving program.
So if there's any streets on there, Mike, that you think would be worth striping, we can identify them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure we could do it right as a tabletop exercise when I share the draft of the tentative list of streets with everybody. We'll probably do it right from memory,
Okay.
And if not, we can look at them, but
Yeah, we'll put it as part of the conversation.
The easiest time for me to get it done is right in the middle of that program when they pave that. Because I just include it with the work and make it the responsibility of the contractor,
Yep.
Yeah, so we might as well not miss that opportunity in this round.
But I will also say, Montgomery County, like I'd mentioned before, they do bid highway striping as one of their annual contracts. So if there's a street that we're not paving or that we paved 3 years ago that like Guy Park, for example, and you say you want to pave from here to here, or not pave, stripe, we can do that. We can piggyback on the county's contract easy enough. So, for what that's worth.
Okay.
Well, again, I think that if striping is a concern of a particular ward or of then that should be a priority project, and we should, especially as Kelly just suggested, as we're going through the streets this year, should we or shouldn't we stripe them?
Yeah. And I know we've had like aesthetic complaints about striping in the past, so I don't know if that was one reason why we stayed away from it. I remember like Van Dyke got striped and there were some people complaining about that it looked like a highway instead of a neighborhood. But I think with roads that are real cross throughs like Van Dyke, I think it is a safety issue. Yeah, so I think that's some pretty good movement on that. Any other next steps, or we'll come back with we'll work on the streets, the CHIPS project we're gonna have next month. we'll have each alderman pick a priority project, and then I'm sure we'll hear from Chief Spencer when he's got more information to share on the speeding.
Sounds good.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good?
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
This was
You-
great, and appreciate your time and everybody's energy and thought on this. And we will see each other next Tuesday
Okey doke.
at the meeting. Thanks.
Thank you.
You-